All right, hey everybody, what's up? It's Tipping the Scales. I'm your girl, Shay Dawson.
And I'm Tania Rivers. Welcome back
to another Sunday. We have our amazing guest, Raven Jemison. T, what are we talking about today? What are we going to get into with Jemison?
We have a boss today, another boss, Raven Jemison, who is the EVP in business operations of Milwaukee Bucks and the Pfizer Forum. So look, there's a lot that we can talk about and unpack with Raven. So we're super excited to have her on our show today.
NBA champion? What's up? Let's go.
What's good, Raven?
Yes.
So tell us, welcome, first of all, and just tell us, let our fans know a little bit more about you and what you do, because of course we talk about all the time that titles can mean so much or not, and you don't know exactly what you do. So what does it mean to be a EVP, C-suite of business operations? Tell them a little bit about what that is.
Yeah, first off, thank you guys for having me. It's been
sure.
It's been great to see you guys. I think you're 4 or 5 podcasts in. Is that episodes in? Is that right?
Episode 7.
Could you believe?
I know I'm behind. You guys are so thank you guys for including me in the conversation. So Raven Jemison, of course, EVP of Biz Ops is really just a fancy title to say.
It is fancy.
Yeah. And number 2, I'm the number 2 to Peter Fagan, the president of the Milwaukee Bucks and Pfizer Forum. And
wow, you just made yourself even more fancy. You're dropping, I'm number 2 to the prez. I mean, really.
The good thing is I try to run the day-to-day of the business, right? As me and Peter try to think about the strategic vision, 3 to 5 years out, there's also a business to run day-to-day.
Yeah.
So I oversee the foundational business units, marketing, ticketing, our G League team, corporate social responsibility, all the things that you guys know as sports veterans, sports business veterans, that make the business go. But it's also just means that I try to hire smart people and surround myself with smart people to make it seem like I know what I'm doing. I'm very blessed to be here with
awesome
Bucks, because obviously the culture here is amazing and the talent is even more amazing.
Awesome.
That is a skill. That is a skill. Well, you're also a Black woman. And so with that on our show, we celebrate that, because a Black woman, thank you. Yes. A Black woman, reaching those heights. We know that there are a lot of obstacles that you have to go through constantly to prove yourself, to make your voice heard. So talk about your story. Like why sports business and how did you get to where you are today?
It's a great question. So I had no idea what sports business was, because when I started out going to college, second person in my family to graduate from college, I was told you become a doctor, a lawyer, or a teacher, because those are the jobs that you're guaranteed to have when you graduate from college. So I was pretty good in math and science, and I was like, okay, I'll be a doctor. And optometry was the doctor that had the least exposure to blood. And you could do it for some minutes, right? It's literally like 1, 2, like they check your eye. It's really, one of the easier, I guess, doctor roles I felt like I could go into.
Right.
But I honestly, as most kids at 17, had no idea what I really wanted to do. But then when I got to Auburn University, War Eagle, if there's anybody listening out there, I started to understand a little bit more, especially if you follow college football. There's fans in the stadium. How do they get there, right? What are the signs on the building? I started becoming a little bit more inquisitive and curious around the sports of business, because I'm 5'3" on a good day, so I knew I was never going to play.
You make a good point guard. Don't show yourself short.
So I started really being curious. I was curious about what happened to get people in a building. And so I started doing some internships, some informational meetings.
Yeah.
And of course, I was still on the path to be an optometrist. I was doing all my prereqs. I took the OSATs, which is the admission test to go to optometry school. But something was tugging at me to say, I don't know if this is what you should be doing. So I graduated. I was in a 5-year master's degree program, and I graduated. I was like, I just don't know. I don't know if this is for me. So I asked my parents, I'm like, I'm going to take some time off. I want to defer graduate school or optometry school and see what this sports business is about. So the May before I was to matriculate to an optometry school program, I got a job selling tickets for $7.25 at the Florida Panthers. And if you guys know hockey, black girl from Alabama had no idea what it was. No idea. I knew the puck went in the net and I knew there were fans in the building. And I'm like, okay,
There
I
you
want
go.
tickets and I want to figure out how I can make this thing work. So the rest is history, to be honest. I've been in several teams and several leagues. And that's how I started, though, just making a commitment to doing what I wanted to do because I knew I wasn't going to be fulfilled doing the other thing I set out to do at 17.
Awesome. I mean,
that's amazing.
Yeah, Shay, stop stealing the words out my mouth. Exactly. I just wanted to say that is amazing.
Because we always say amazing on this show.
I know, exactly. But so now that you know, okay, maybe not optometry, what made you choose sports? Like, why sports? What pulled you into sports? What attracted you to sports?
So I played sports. Again, I talk about being 5'3", 5'4". I've definitely shrunk because in high school I played basketball. I was 5'4", 5'4.5". I played sports, right? So being athletic, I was a gymnast early in my youth, from 4 to 14. But sports was always part of my life. I just didn't know what to do with it past playing, right? So that inquisitive nature and asking questions around what is sports business kind of got me to the point where I was more curious about how to get there. And when you're in a sporting event, no matter what it is, it's a very irrational business, right? It's an irrational thing where you say, I'm going to sit in a stadium and cheer for a team. I have no control over the win. I have no control over anything. I just want to be part of a community. And so I felt like if I could sell tickets or whatever it was to get more people in a building, I wanted to be a part of that. I wanted to have that emotional kind of roller coaster, figure out how I could sell someone to come into a building and participate in what it is to be a fan of a sport. And it just kind of built from there. I didn't know for sure that I was going to be in sports, but I knew I was curious enough to figure out what sports business was. And once I got into ticket sales, then I started asking questions about marketing, about partnerships, and all the things that make a business go. And then, of course, getting to Teambo, you get answers to all those questions, which is great. So it's honestly just curiosity to answer your questions, Nia.
Awesome. Great.
You got to see those dollars. You got to see how the business started working. And that's when your mind started to go like, okay. Oh, so that's very interesting.
And the interesting thing is, I always tell people who want to be in sports, follow the money. If you can, one, understand how revenue is generated, write your ticket in sports, because at the end of the day, it's revenue generation. Sure. But it's also the fan experience and how people and why people want to spend that money. So revenue generation was the start for sure.
Revenue generation, you guys. Follow the dollar.
Follow the money. I like that.
That's the bottom line. I love it.
Yeah. So can you tell us a little bit, like, I think especially for our fans and those who listen to our podcast, tell us a little bit about, because I mean, I'm impressed. You've worked a lot across many different sports industries. So talk to us a little bit about, just tell them a little bit about your resume, because you have a strong one. I think that they should know a little bit about it.
Yeah, I, again, didn't set out to hit every league, but I think about where I was in my career. When I was in each league, it was perfect. So I should probably start by saying, no matter what league it is, the goal is the same. Butts and seats, partnership dollars, build that fan experience that make people want to come back time and time again. So the actual league really didn't matter as it relates to the end goal. But what I will say is I learned different things about myself through each path. So starting with the Florida Panthers, selling tickets. One, I'm selling tickets to a sport I don't know much about. So I'm glad I started at that.
The hard part.
At the hard part. Because now you really have to hone your sales skills. It's not about competition and performance on the ice. It's literally that connection to a fan to say, here's why you should be in the building. So honing my skills in a sport that I didn't really know helped me, I think, become a better seller. Then I go.
It's a grind too. Like, I think people need to know. Sales is a grind, and it's hard. And I think sometimes people want to get into sports because it's sexy. They like the brand. They want to be a part of it. They want to be around the players. But when you get to really start dialing those numbers and picking up the phone and you need to sell, it's a hard job. So
absolutely,
much respect to that.
You have to be okay with hearing no a lot. But as a competitor, Tania, you asked the question about sports. most people I know that work in sports business played sports growing up. They're competitive. You always try to compete within yourself, I guess, to get to the yes. So yes, while sales is very hard, it's a grind. You're pushing because you want to hear the yes. So you'll hear 100 no's before you get to that one yes. But the feeling, it's almost like a drug. That feeling when you get the yes, you're like, okay, I'll go through the next 100 no's
I
because I
need
want.
more of that.
Yeah, you're chasing
Yeah.
it. So I get to the Pittsburgh Pirates. Again, baseball is a sport, I enjoy watching baseball, but it's not like basketball or football for me. So I really honed in on my leadership skills. So that's where I started to take on a larger sales staff. So again, because I wasn't so focused on the sexiness of
Mhm.
being in sports business or being in sports, I could focus on kind of the tools that I needed to be a better leader. Then I get to the Niners, new stadium. Love football, but the new stadium grind is something that is next level. So it
Mm.
probably took 15 years off my life, but it is something I would not trade for the world because, again, understanding how stadiums are built, the funding component, how you get people in a brand new stadium that's not in its core place of San Francisco and move it to Santa Clara. So that's kind of like the politics and understanding sports. Then I get to the league office, the NBA league office with Teambo, and that just opened up an entire new world for me. I had grown through the business with ticket sales, but then that
Mm-hmm.
exposure to marketing, to partnerships, to strategy and analytics, to all the
Yeah.
things that I wanted to get to Teambo for, it's literally an MBA and a PhD in 6 months because you have to be able to
Wow.
consult across the business. So to answer your question, each one of the leagues presented different challenges to me at the time that allowed me to kind of build the calluses and build kind of the skill sets that I needed to get to the role I'm in and hopefully continue to ascend.
Wow.
Yeah.
You're quite impressive.
Yeah. So
Thank
you talk about the
Welcome.
skill sets and the PhD that you got, but let's talk about the people that helped you move around the business. How did you have people that were pivotal in that, or just try to paint a picture for people listening on? I mean, that's a lot of moving and also a lot of bravery on your part to go from Pittsburgh to Santa Clara or San Francisco, wherever that is. Like
Yeah.
you have to say yes to yourself to move around a lot. So like talk about that, the people, and then just moving.
The people component to me, of course, you have to be really good at the job that you want to ascend to or that you want to go into, and that's all on you. But I would not be where I am without the people that kind of opened the doors for me and said, Raven's ready for a seat at this particular table.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
I'm very fortunate. Everyone asks me about mentors and sponsors, and I'm very fortunate that I had a lot of male mentors and sponsors that said,
I
"Hey, I'm
did
going
too.
to open up the door. I hope you're ready because I'm going to bring you with me, or I'm going to put you in this seat, and it's up to you to be vocal, and it's up to you to take advantage of the opportunity that's in front of you." But
Love
I mean,
that.
I can name a ton: Chris Zaber, Matt Wolf, Lou DePauli. I also had peers, and I think this is something that a lot of people don't talk about, is the peers that you are surrounded by. So as a leadership group, how are you challenging each other in the rooms where you're sitting as leaders? We can always talk about the boss and how the boss can help us get to that next level, but
Mhm.
how is each leader helping the other uh,
Mhm.
get
Mm.
get to those levels? And I'm very fortunate that I've had great network of peers that have rooted for me and I've rooted for them, and we have the conversation on how we get to that level together.
Awesome.
So the people is hugely important because you guys know this business is so small.
Oh,
Mhm.
yeah.
We're multi-billion-dollar industries, but at the end of the day, we're small businesses. So
Absolutely.
if you say, I want to go here, I want to go to this team, you're usually 2 to 3 degrees of separation from understanding how you get there. So it's all about the people. You
Yeah,
have
and you
Yeah.
better treat people right.
you have to treat people right. You have to make sure that when they speak up for you, that you perform,
Yeah.
right? It's not lost on me that
Show up.
they have
That's
taken
right.
a chance, but I had to be ready and I had to say to myself, I'm not going to squander this opportunity because you don't want to mess it up for the next person,
Yeah.
especially those that look like me, for sure.
So, I mean, it's a good transition because Shay and I did an episode on Leadership Matters, and we both talk about how important it is to be a great leader and how leadership matters in the workplace because it pretty much sets the tone of your culture,
Yeah.
right? So, just curious to know what does leadership mean to you? What kind of leader are you? Tell us about your leadership style, the leader that you are, and how do you see that manifest within your organization?
Yeah, it's a great question. Whew. Leadership, I'll start by saying my first leadership opportunity, I screwed it up big time because
Mm.
I
Mm.
went into the situation thinking I needed to be the leader that others were leaders like, right?
This
Like
that real stuff right here. Go ahead, baby. Talk about it.
who were the people that led me, and I'm just going to replicate what they do, right?
Mhm.
And I was not, I was painting my team with a broad brush. Oh, you should be happy. Not that I was saying this, but you guys know how it is sometimes in sports. You should just be happy to be here because there's
Yeah.
some people willing
We'll
to,
do this job for free.
Eh,
right?
Yeah.
Right.
The
So my
line goes around the corner. Yes, we
in,
know.
so I made the mistake of, and I quickly learned from the mistake, but I made the mistake of trying to be the leader that others were leaders to me.
Mm.
So I said to myself, what are the things that make me me? How am I authentically bringing myself to work as a leader? And immediately thinking about each member of my team as individuals. Because as we all know, we're not all the same. We don't perform the same. We don't have the same levers that get us to be really good at our jobs. So
That's
how
right.
am I meeting the need of my teammates in a way that I am amplifying and elevating them so they feel confident that they can do the work. So I would describe my leadership now as empathetic. Um,
Mhm.
I try to also think about, fortunately, I've done a lot of the job that I'm asking people
That's
to. So
yes.
that helps as well because it brings
Yes.
credibility, right?
Yeah.
I've had many conversations with people that come to me and they're like, "How'd you deal with this? And why is this happening?" It's easy to say, "Well, this is how I dealt with it." Not saying you should deal with it the exact same way, but I will say having empathy and understanding the things that I'm asking someone to do or that the organization is asking someone to do is probably at the core of my leadership. And also just, I don't know, I try not to take it so seriously, right? I think I know
Yeah.
there are tremendous goals and there's tremendous pressure on me to hit marks and hit goals. But at the end of the day, we're in the business of sports, right? We're
Yes.
not selling
Mhm.
something that people, necessarily have to have, but we're selling something that people get to have. So how
Yeah.
can we
Love that.
leverage that to create a fun environment and a fun culture? And it's one of the reasons why I'm here with the Bucks because their culture precedes itself.
Love
And
it.
Peter's done a really good job of saying we're in this thing together and we all get in the weeds. I mean, I was making renewal calls a month ago. So this is not, no one's too big. It doesn't matter what your title is. We all have
Yeah.
to trenches and move the needle together.
Love that. I love how you roll up the sleeves and just get down and dirty, but also just remembering to put your people, because what I'm hearing you say is that you put your people first, and that's what helps create the great culture that you guys have. So
That's,
shout
Yeah.
out to Peter for
yes.
allowing that to happen and you being such a great partner and understanding the importance of that. Because oftentimes we forget about the people. We be so hyper focused on revenue, on goals, but we don't put a stamp on our employees and really showing them that they matter. So proud of you guys for doing that. Thank
Yeah. I
you.
mean, and when I think about, the Bucks winning the championship, people don't realize that it's not all about the basketball because you're saying the people,
Exactly.
like the culture that you have to have on the business side and on the basketball outside contributes all to winning on all levels, right? So winning
Right.
in seats and butts and seats, winning on the fan experience, winning the players are happy, winning the coaches and employees all interacting with each other. Like, what was it like winning a championship and how is it now after? Like, tell me
Yeah.
some moments of like, I mean, I love it.
Yeah, it's interesting that you asked that, Shay, because I'm going to go back a little bit. I started here in February, and our capacity was zero. We had
Yeah.
0 fans. We went through 3 different capacity changes through the playoffs. So we went from 0 to 10% to 25% to actually 4 now, 50% to full capacity.
Wow.
And in that,
Wow.
you talk about the relationship between business and basketball.
Mm-hmm.
I
Yeah.
remember we have a great relationship with our basketball operations team, and I know how hard
It's
sometimes
rare.
come by, right?
That's rare.
Yes, it
Our,
is.
our basketball ops team understands what we do as a business. So it was easy when they started to see more fans, they're calling us and they're like, it makes a difference if there's 3,000 people in the building, right? So that translates to your point, Tania, about people and putting people first. For them and our sales team, for our marketing team to hear that that makes a difference in how our players perform on the court, that's a game changer, right? Those are the things you can't put a price on when you talk about culture.
Yeah.
But as far as winning the championship, it's still surreal. To be honest, I don't. It was a very short off season, as you guys know, so we didn't really have a ton of time to like take it in. But opening night, when we had the ring ceremony and the banner unveiled, it took it to the next level. But honestly, we're looking at how do we build a business, just to peek behind the curtain, how do we build a business if the team does not perform? And I'm not saying we won't, because we run it back and I hope we win again. But that's kind of the thing that keeps me up at night. It keeps Peter up at night, is like, we have to be sure that we're prepared for the day that the team doesn't do what we want it to do. And we have this conversation with our basketball ops team as well, because we want to be that resource for them, but we also have to prepare. So how are you preparing yourself for the time that, the shine is off the new building? Our building's 3 years old. And really, if you count the last 2 seasons, probably 2 years old. So the shine's going to be off the building. How are we preparing ourselves? So yes, the championship is hugely important. I still get moments where I get chills, and if you see the picture behind me, like
I do.
I revisit that moment. I was sitting and where I was sitting, and like, there's good moments.
Where were you sitting? Where were you sitting?
I was literally, if you look here.
Okay.
I was over here.
Okay.
And that moment is something, again, we talk about sports and we talk about why we're in this business. It's for that moment, right?
Were you on the floor? I can't really tell.
So I am a pacer. Like,
okay.
I don't do well watching games.
Okay.
I'm
You're nervous. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
So I was probably pacing back and forth. So I'm off the image here, but I'm pacing back and forth.
Okay, got you.
And while you were pacing back and forth, I was up in the stands screaming, losing my mind, cheering definitely against you guys.
I'm going to bring it up.
Listen, I'm keeping it real. I'm bringing it up because that darn Shay opened up a wound, because you started congratulating about, giving Raven that shout out about
she's very competitive.
That championship.
She's very competitive.
But listen, it was a very sad moment in time for me, because of course I wanted that championship for my baby. He and his whole entire team worked really hard. So while you were cheering and celebrating, I was crying. And listen, look, you guys worked hard. You deserve it. But it was definitely...
Oh, that don't taste good in your mouth.
Shay, stop it. Don't be like that,
Sorry.
Behave yourself. But look, it was definitely hard, but the best team won, and you guys deserve it. And it's another year, so we'll see what happens. But at the end of the day, you won that championship. So I guess I'll just... Congratulations.
Thank you, Tania. I'm not going to bring it up.
This is epic.
I didn't bring it up. It's all Shay. So
this is a conversation. So regardless of what
we're all about authenticity,
this is a conversation. So, and Tania, that's my dog. So I mean, I feel like I can just say what I need to say. But again, like, talk about just in sports. I mean, this is actually a really good moment. Like someone who is a mother of an NBA player and someone who works in a front office in the business side. I mean, we as sports fans, we work in sports and all of that kind of stuff. Like, this is our livelihood. This is not, these aren't games, right? Like, I mean, they are games.
Serious,
but like,
right?
We truly take all this stuff home. So Raven, tell everybody just like, how do you turn it off? Do you do things like, do you work? Like, what is your day to day like outside of being with the Bucks? Like, being a boss? Like, we talk about that and everybody has different answers, and I heard on one podcast that you're a recovering workaholic. So please, what is that about?
recovering workaholic that is in the office right now on a Sunday.
I was going to say recovering. Well, I don't know.
But
I'm not judging.
I don't know, Tania. It kind of sounds like you are, but it's okay. I've learned that it's, everybody doesn't get it. It's fine. It's fine. But I have, as far as turning it off, no. Turning it off is almost impossible for me.
Uh-huh.
I don't sleep. I don't sleep well. There's things, I've stopped doing this, but it used to be a notepad by my bed, but now it's my phone, which you're not supposed to do because light, like when you wake up in the middle of the night, I take notes. Because I'm thinking, this is a great idea. I don't want to lose it. I don't want to think I dreamt it or whatever, but I don't turn it off. But I have learned, I used to be type A plus. But now I'm type A.
Oh, wow.
I'm type A minus, right? So
wow.
I understand my shortfalls.
We need to create a rubric. Go ahead.
For sure.
Work-life balance. I don't know anybody who has that or if that's even a real thing, but what I have tried to do, and I think I've improved a bit, is I try to be present in whatever moment I'm in. So if I'm at work, I try to be fully present in work. And then outside of work, I do try to be fully present, which is something that I didn't used to do.
Got you.
Working at the NBA league office changed that a little bit for me because I was on the road so much that I realized that, okay, there's things you can do to have fun outside of work because I had a little bit more quote unquote free time. But now that I'm back on the team side, it's a little bit different. It's trying to find the moments that you can be present in outside of work.
Yeah. You know what? You brought up the word fun because that's exactly what I was going to ask you because although you have a great sense of humor, you have a great personality, I also think that you're a very serious person. So what do you do for fun? Like what's a fun day for you outside of sports, outside of work? Today you're going to have fun. What are you going to do?
So I have a relatively new puppy. Honestly, spending time at home. I have a 4-year-old 10-pound Brussels Griffon Yorkie mix, and I have now a 7-month standard poodle who's like 45 pounds.
Aww.
Honestly, I tried to get like on my patio, and here in Wisconsin, we're almost out of patio weather, unfortunately.
Yeah.
But honestly, it's just spending time with them and spending time with my wife and my family, my mom and my sister. I've been to Milwaukee 3 times now. It's really family is what
family
around my.
Awesome.
I also spend too much time looking at the GOAT app and the sneakers app and stuff.
I know. I can see your little sneaker background.
I see it back there. You and Mikkel will have a lot to talk about.
I am what you call a sneaker purist. So I'm not really a sneaker head because I don't go out and buy like Yeezys and things
sneaker
like that.
purist. What's the definition of that?
Type A minus.
Enlighten me.
Sneaker purist. I'm racking them up here. Keep going.
Okay. Here we go. Sneaker purist is someone who is more into the history of a sneaker, more into maybe I only really wear 3 types of sneakers. Okay. So I'm into the history and like, why was this sneaker made? Reading Phil Knight's book, Shoe Dog, reading about the creation of Adidas and Puma and that they were 2 brothers. Like I'm more into the history of a sneaker and why they are what they are to who they appeal to, all that stuff. So I don't really get into what you call hype beast. Like I'm not I go out and stand in line.
Yeah, sure.
For the latest. But so if anybody's listening and you have a plug, I'm an Air Max 1, I'm an 1 high, and a Jordan 3. So if anybody's listening that wants to be a plug, I am.
Okay.
What are they going to get in return? They're going to get some tickets or something? What you got?
We can talk about it.
Yeah. Okay. So you just said you were married. So congratulations. How long have you been married?
5 years.
Oh, 5 years. Okay.
I just got engaged. So I need some marriage advice.
No, so that's where I was going, Shay. Okay. Like we always, sister brains just going back and forth. So I was going to ask because we had an episode about love because unfortunately, wonk, wonk, love don't live here anymore. And it hasn't been for quite some time. So you told me you want me to be honest, right? Yeah. So tell what love advice, what do you have for those who are challenged in this space? What recommendations do you have for me to meet people? And I one day want to be married and, do the love thing, but I'm always open to advice. So
Especially people who are married. Like, we like to hear
yes,
from married people. Like, please
yes.
enlighten us about love and marriage. Yes, everything that
Help,
T said.
help T out. Yeah.
Now you guys are you're getting deep here.
Oh yeah, girl.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. I don't have any specific advice.
Okay.
And if you're currently in a relationship or if you're currently married. So to me, this isn't for you right now, but I'm coming back to you. Okay.
Okay. I'll wait for it.
Okay. I will say it's important, and you hear this all the time, is communication, even if it's hard to communicate about something, is the most important thing. Because I am somebody, while I am type A minus, I hold everything in, I get angry, and then I explode, right? Which is not. So I've learned that if you communicate open and honestly, that would be better for you than if you're like me and you wait till
you're on fire.
Yes. And then it's like everything comes out during that conversation, right? And it's never good. Oh, how long you been holding on to that, right? Like,
okay, so communication.
So communication.
Sure.
Even when it's hard to communicate about.
Yes.
Yeah.
Vulnerability. So this ties now back to you, Tania.
Uh-oh. I
get her, because this is
be quiet, Shay.
Sorry.
I'm listening. I'm locked in.
I got married late in life because I was not vulnerable. Like,
Okay.
I didn't want anybody to see the hard parts of me, which there are many. I felt like I always had to be put together. I always had to be perfect. I always had to say the right things. But when somebody loves you when you're at your worst, you know they're in for the long haul. So Tania, I will say, and I know I was going to be Dr. Love on this, but if you're out there looking and you feel like there's a connection, remember to be vulnerable, even when it's hard to be vulnerable. So I don't know what the game is and where you're looking. You want me to keep a lookout for you?
Oh,
I'm happy.
Okay. Yeah,
Okay.
Sure. Oh, wow.
This show is so fire. Like, that was fire.
That was pretty good. I'm not going to lie.
Here's a question though.
Okay. Uh-oh.
What if they live in Milwaukee and they're Bucks fans and
oh, wow.
Bucks play the Suns again in the finals?
Yeah.
What happened
What
there?
now? But you want love.
Well, look, I think at the end of the day, you know who I'm rooting for. So if that person can understand that what my priorities are and be respectful of that, we're good to go. I mean, you talked about communication, so
that was beautiful.
What's the truth?
You passed the test, Tania.
All right, so be vulnerable. I got it. I will certainly work on that. Yeah. I got it.
And have fun. I don't know. You asked me about what I do for fun, but like, are you also trying to marry your fun to the love part of this, right? Do you
look at you?
We got a third co-host.
Me.
I'm just saying, you want advice? I need to know more. We can talk about fun. I'm just saying, I need to. This is how I do with my mom. My mom is also, she's. We got to work on the vulnerability.
the good Lord. The good Lord.
Yeah, so I try. I mean, so for me, fun, I love to go hiking. I went hiking yesterday. It was a short hike. It was like 8 miles, but I love to go hiking, love to go biking. I love to get outdoors and do some fun stuff. And I would love whoever that person is that will be in my life. I would want that person to have a passion for fitness and just overall good health, but love working out. Like me with a couch potato probably won't work out. That probably won't work. I would be very much annoyed and disappointed. So I definitely want someone who puts, I would say, their health first because it has to be a priority. I come from a family where you have people who are obese, you have people who don't make health, don't take health seriously, I should say. My family's from down south, so what happens for Southern food. You just eat everything. It's not good stuff. It tastes good, but it's not as good for you. So for me, just losing my grandmother very young and losing my dad. I lost some folks in my life, and it was all because of having a
Mm.
poor lifestyle as it relates to their health. So I take it seriously. I want to try to be here as long as I can for my son, and I just want someone who understands the importance of it. So,
Man, Tania, we're very similar. I too am fighting what I call bad genes. I'm from Alabama. My grandmother
mm,
passed away when I was in my teenage years. I
yeah,
lost most of my aunts and uncles from stroke and heart disease, and I definitely
yeah,
do the things I need to do to extend my life as much as I have control over. But what I'm
Mm.
hearing from you is that you want someone that is active.
yeah.
He might enjoy some soul food, but not that can't be the core of his diet.
That's right.
8
She's
first off, 8 miles does not sound like a
a
short
short hike.
hike, but
It's a short hike. Yeah.
if this is the kind of stuff you're doing, then I think we have it out here it's in the universe now. So if someone's
My
listening,
son's gonna be like, "What are you doing, pimping yourself out there like that, mom? It's unacceptable."
I
But
love it, I love it. Now I'll be sure to keep that in mind.
all
So
right, you keep me in mind.
I
Oh,
got you.
I love it. No, we keep getting love doctors on here. This is like amazing. And Raven, what's your wife's name? Let's shout her out, please.
April.
April. Shout
Yeah.
out to you, April, for marrying a what did you say your personality type is?
A minus.
A minus. So we don't talk about balance on the show, even though our show is called Tipping the Scales.
Mhm.
We talk about harmony. That's Tania's coin term for it's. There's no balance in life, but
Yeah.
tipping the scales back and forth and finding that harmony. I think that's where it's at. So out of all of the stuff that you've been through, you're married, you're successful. Was there any time in life where you were sad and you had to tip the scale back in your favor, or you just felt like you weren't going to keep going in down the road that you are? Like, I don't know, some kind of challenge that you had, because I think you have such a well-rounded lifestyle and personality,
Yeah.
like Tania said before. I'd love for the guests to hear kind of like, we always talk about the good, but are there some things and challenges that you went through that, I mean, also you guys said you lost people from health issues, and Black people, we all know that we have to be better every single generation because of systemic racism. Let's just talk about that and how that all affects everything that we do. And I think that's why we're all or trying to be just well put together people and find that
Yeah.
balance. Like, what are those challenges in life that you had to overcome? I mean, we know a lot about you now, so I'd love to hear more.
Yeah.
Absolutely. So there's two that kind of resonate as you ask this question. One's professional and one's personal. So
Okay.
professionally speaking, there was a time when I was at the Niners, new stadium projects I just mentioned. I had just had enough. Like, and I don't quit anything, right? So that goes back to my type A minus. I try not to quit anything. And there was a
Right.
moment that it had just been a collection of buildup of just stress, of all the things that I had no control over, but they were just kind of compounded.
Mm.
And my team, talk about going back to the people component that Tania was speaking about. My team, I was in the trenches with them as people were yelling, as people, they would get on the phone and they're trying to get butts in seats, and people are pissed because we're not in San Francisco, we're in Santa Clara, prices are more expensive. It was a lot.
Yeah.
Um, and I had had enough. I was in my office, and I went to my office and I was typing my resignation letter. Like,
Wow.
it was to that degree that it was taking an emotional toll on me.
Yeah.
Typing my resignation letter. As I hit enter for it to print, and I'm getting up from my desk, my team comes in. It's like 8 of them. They come in, they have flowers, and they have a big bottle of wine because they know I love wine. And
Wow.
they had, I don't think they had an idea that I was getting ready to resign at that moment, but they come into my office and they just say, "Thank you for being in the trenches with us, because it is so hard, but we know that you're in it with us. So that allows us to just push through, and we just want to say thank you." And
That's
then
awesome.
in that moment, I was like, God just knew. He knew
Yeah.
that I needed to be there and I needed to be with this crew. And, I still talk to all of them to this day. And I talked to them about that moment that you guys had no idea. I was literally about to walk out.
Wow.
And it was so that's one piece. It's like, I guess the message I'd want to carry from that is
Mm.
just trust that you're where you're supposed to be.
Mm.
And it's going to be hard. there's going to be moments that say you need to stay there. So that was the moment for me. And then personally, almost 3 years ago, I lost my dad. He had vascular dementia.
Oh,
Talk
Sorry
about,
for that.
sorry.
yeah,
Yeah.
thank you. Talk about type A workaholic. I got it all from him. Everything that is me, my brains. I mean, I love my mom and she's great. Love her to death. But I am my dad reincarnated. And
Yeah.
there were some personal things that kind of led to the moment of me sitting by his bedside and thinking like, wow, him and my mom were divorced from each other twice.
Okay.
And in that moment, as I am the only one sitting next to him at his bedside as he's getting ready to pass away, I just felt a sense of calm, but a sense of peace. But the challenge that I also was met with was like, man, I feel like I missed out on so much because my relationship with him was not exactly where I wanted it to be. So it allowed me to say, okay, while I have some peace at this moment, I want to make sure that everyone in my life knows that I love them, that I say I love you as much as I can, that I'm present, um, that I don't allow that moment to come to me again. If there's ever an opportunity that someone's passing away or that I feel like I've done everything I can on this earth to tell them how much I appreciate them and I love them. So those two things to me continue to shape me today. Yeah, so tough times, but it makes us better. Talk about the calluses that make you a better human being. Those are two times for sure that contribute.
Wow. Thank you
Thank
so
you.
much for sharing that. Yeah, I
Thank you.
really appreciate you. Talk about vulnerability. And I think that was a lesson of vulnerability
Yeah,
that you share with us. And I think we can all walk away with learning from that. So thank you
yeah, of
again for sharing. Um,
course.
and, and speaking of challenges, because look, we all have these big, hairy, aggressive goals that
Yeah.
we want to accomplish, and we run into challenges all the time. And oftentimes we feel like giving up. I can tell you there were many times in life that I felt like I wanted to give up, but I just kept keeping the end in mind. And that really helped me propel forward. But just through the challenge you just shared with us, what do you say to someone listening that is close to giving up on something, whether it be a job or something that they were working hard towards, but they hit that wall? What do you say to help get them over the hump?
Oof.
And they don't have that team to come in,
Yeah. They may not get the flowers or the
Yeah.
wine.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. That's a
Yeah.
great question. Um, it's so interesting because I've been asked this question a little bit lately, and I keep going back to the moment that I was listening to Valerie Jarrett and Michelle Obama when Michelle Obama was on her Becoming tour.
Mm.
And Valerie Jarrett was the moderator.
Yep.
And they were talking about something, of course, the stress of being in the White House. And Michelle Obama said something that resonated so deeply with me as I look back on my journey, because there were more times that, obviously did not go my way.
Right.
Yeah.
It is the beauty is in the curve.
Mm.
And what they were saying about that is what moments can you reflect back on to say it made me who I am today and I had to go through that. So if there's someone that's listening right now that says like, man, I'm getting overlooked for promotions or something's not working in my personal life or whatever it may be, stand still for a moment, be
Mm.
present and understand that one, it might not go well for you. So if you can be in that moment and say, I might not get what I want in this moment,
Mm.
but what am I going to do to use this to fuel me in the future? Because that's how I'm looking at things moving forward, right?
Yep.
So because the beauty is in the curve for me, and I'm looking back at all the moments that I may have been passed over for a promotion, or I wanted to, spend more time with my family and I didn't, and all those things.
Mm-hmm.
What can I do now to make sure that I am not learning from those moments? So I would just say, my mom always tells me, be still and listen.
Mm.
If the moment is that this isn't going to work out for you, take the moment to say, okay, what am I going to learn from this to fuel me moving forward?
Awesome. Wow. That got me caught up there for a
That got me a
second.
little emotional.
I know. Wow. Let that resonate for a little bit. I think
Mm.
that's so important. And sometimes we move so fast that we don't
Mm,
allow ourselves to listen, right? Like we're just on that train or that run or whatever it is that you're heading towards, we move so fast that we just never take the time to listen. So I appreciate you reminding us of that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's so interesting because I am someone who moves fast. When my mom and sister come to visit, I'm never still. I'm
Yeah.
always, but there's moments now, whether I'm walking the dogs or whether I'm sitting on the patio or whatever it may be, that I am forcing myself self to be still and
Mm.
listen that I never did before. So that's why I'm back to type A minus, guys, because I used to be type slowly ticking away. I'm hoping to get to type B plus. If I can get to type B plus, that's what I'm working towards.
Okay. And when do you want to get there? Like, what's your goal?
When
Next
do I want
year, next 6 months, 9 months? When do you think
to?
you'll be a B plus plus?
Can I come back to you after this season? Because
Yeah.
this season is going to be an interesting one for us in the business. So I have to keep that type A minus hat on. If I get to where I want to be by this time next year, I could put a timeline together for type B.
We'll check in. We'll check in. We'll check in.
That works. That's funny.
We will
Too
check
funny.
in.
We'll definitely have to check in.
Yeah.
So for me, it's funny because when I listen to you and you talk about all the different things, I mean, I'm just so impressed by you. You just have such a great personality, but you're so grounded and strong and resilient. And I think we'll all walk away from this episode today just learning something and being different now than we were, an hour or almost an hour ago, just from listening to you because you're very inspiring. So it's just so good to have you here. You have to come
Yeah.
back a lot more times.
Or we might have to make a trip to the Milwaukee Suns game and have a glass
Ah.
of wine.
Or two.
Or two. And and we might find T's husband. So we might do that together.
In Milwaukee?
Hey,
I don't know.
Sleep on Milwaukee. Don't sleep
Because
on Milwaukee.
I'm not sleeping on Milwaukee. Listen, it was
He might
tough when
just
I was
be
there
in
before.
Milwaukee. That's all
Okay.
I'm
I
saying.
mean, you talk about the fans there. You were saying how small the fan base was. I don't remember that being my experience. Okay. Like the
No.
fans outside of that, first of all, it's like walking towards the stadium, and I had, some
sons?
Phoenix Suns colors, and they were yelling and screaming and going crazy. And then the entire time when I was watching the game, there was one guy behind me. He was like, "You're going out low, loser." I was like, "Okay." But the fans were wild, you guys. So that's why I said I don't know about Milwaukee, because my experience there wasn't the best last time. It was a little crazy, but I understand the passion
Yeah.
that was really driving those fans. But
We'll go to a regular game. Does that have to be
they
the
were,
finals?
they were
Yeah, you can't use the
Playoffs.
Don't take the playoffs.
Playoff fans.
Don't. It's the ultimate home court advantage, though, I will say. But don't take
yeah.
Game 6 as like the indicator of the folks here in Milwaukee. Very,
Okay.
especially coming,
Because they scare me. I don't know. I was ready to, go back to my Philly days when I have to put some Vaseline on my face and put my hair back in a ponytail and get down and dirty. But I had to behave. I'm someone's mama, so I can't go crazy. But they were going wild up in there.
That's crazy.
We'll work on that. I will personally work on that for you, Tania, because I want you to come back. And I want you to
Wait, I have one more question.
Yes.
So you're from Alabama, but you went to Auburn.
Indeed.
Please help me
Understand?
Easy. It was easy. So I grew up in Tuscaloosa, Alabama. So that's where the other university is.
That's what I'm saying. Like what?
So it's very easy. Growing up, and I grew up in a very religious household. And like parents, mom was women's minister, grandparents were preachers, and like very religious.
Wait, Raven. So I'm at my parents right now. So I'm living in Maryland because it's where I work, but I split my time between Maryland and Pennsylvania. But I'm at my parents now. My parents are, my mom and my stepdad, they're ministers. My dad was a minister. So we have so many commonalities.
Crazy.
It's crazy. I love wine too, by the way. Malbec. But my parents are ministers too. Came up with a very religious
so you guys
family.
have a lot in common. Okay, keep going.
So with that, Tania, that like when you go to church, it's like it's an experience. One, you're in church all the time. Growing up, I was in church all the time.
All damn day.
Right?
Just,
But you go there
yes.
and it's supposed to be an experience for,
Yeah.
healing and spirit, all that.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
growing up, I visited a church that was not ours. And the preacher got up and before he even started the sermon, thanked God for the University of Alabama football team. At the time, it was Gene Stallings that was the coach. And we're just going to pray that, next weekend that the team is healthy and that, we can get another. And I'm like,
That's a small town, right?
Is this,
Oh, wow.
is this what we're talking about in church? That's not what we talk about in my church. And it just felt like religion, and it almost felt cultish.
Got you.
It was bizarre. And people who are fans of the University of Alabama, and hopefully they don't take offense to this, it's like almost a cult of winning, right? And it just felt weird. Growing up, even as a youngster, I knew that something felt wrong about that.
In
And
Tuscaloosa.
of course, you have Bo Jackson, and you have, you visit Auburn's campus once, you fall in love, and the rest is history. I knew I for sure was not going to go to the University of Alabama, but once I visited Auburn, and I knew I had a chance to still stay close to home because my parents had just gotten divorced for the second time. I didn't want to go too far from my sister and from my mom. So I decided to stay close, even though I had my eyes on your Spellmans and your Howards, and I wanted to go away. But at the time, Auburn just felt like home to me, and it was close enough to my Tuscaloosa home.
Wow.
Okay.
I like you, Raven. I never thought I would really like someone as much as I do that's a representation of Milwaukee Bucks. But here, wow, you've got a friend in me.
I told you those words hurt her. I told you that. She was like, "Congratulations on your championship."
I am glad that I was able to change your perspective of the Milwaukee Bucks, the city. We need to come back so we can change. You need to be a guest about come back. You need to come back when they're not playing the Suns. So let's start.
That's probably true because it's different blood. You're right. It's a different experience.
Right.
Okay.
And there's different energy. You're right. Yeah.
Indeed. You guys both should come back. I will make sure Malbec is in store somewhere, but come back when it's not game 6 of the finals where in years we're getting ready to have another championship here.
Yeah. No blade. We gotta put the blades and the weapons away for sure. Yeah.
That's not
okay. All right. We'll do that. Okay. Yes. Business. So you've been in all aspects of business and sports. Where do you see sports going? I mean, we at Overtime, we just started a new league called Overtime Elite. We're paying 16 to 18-year-olds. They're doing really well.
Shout out to Overtime.
And they're adapting to this. We're trying to get them pro ready, but like, where do you see sports going? There's like NFTs all over the place. There's non-fungible tokens, just like, like cryptocurrency. Like, what do you see? What's your predictions?
Oof. Well, I do think sports as the core business there's elements of it. Partnerships is going more digital, right? Is evolving into, it's less about signs in the building and around the building. It's more about your digital presence. Ticketing is going to evolve from butts and seats to more ticketing to digital platforms and digital experiences. So the core business is going to evolve I won't say as quickly as we want it to, but that's going to evolve.
Right.
I'm more excited about how you can leverage sports as a platform and the sports business as a platform to do new businesses. So that's what we're focused on here with the Milwaukee Bucks is how can we expand the portfolio, leveraging Milwaukee Bucks and the IP and the success that we've had to actually create new businesses, to invest in brown and Black businesses here in Milwaukee.
Yes,
so to me, that's the evolution of sport as you think about broadening your scope, but keeping the core business in mind, because obviously that's where the bread is buttered. But how are we expanding the platform that we have, not only for good, but for also ancillary revenue opportunities?
Awesome. And before we go, I have to ask one last question before we let you go. What's next for Raven? Are you going to be Dr. Jemison, or like what's next in store for you? Because I feel like there's a lot more cooking up over there.
Definitely not done.
You're not even close to being done. So, but what's next for you?
So again, going back to that type A-, guys, if I was who I used to be, I would tell you where I want to be in 5 years. And if I don't get there, detour, plan B. But I am saying now that I am trying to be still, be
I love
present,
that. Yeah.
learn what I can. And if the next step is CEO of a sports business team, if it's for-profit boards, if it's non-profit, I don't know. So that I'm gonna
I
I'm
like
going to
that.
do the thing that is so hard for me to do is just try to be present, be great at the job that I'm in, kill.
Awesome.
So one, I'm creating space for folks who look like me to come through and do this with no problem, and then
Love that.
hopefully take the next level wherever that may be. Um, and just I want to be really good at what I'm doing right now. So it's no surprise wherever my next step is that they're like, okay, that made sense. That makes
Amen. Take us
I
out,
love
T.
that. Yes. Well, listen, um, I don't know, I see you being a CEO or president of something in your future. So
I appreciate
I appreciate you being locked into your job right now and learning new experiences and helping those who need it. I definitely see you running something. That's the energy you're giving me today, Raven. I'm sorry, but
it. I will take it. I will take it and put it all in, and hopefully I will make you guys proud when that step comes for sure.
awesome. Well, thank you so much for spending your day with
Thank you.
us. Like I said, you were definitely one of the best um, guests that we've had so far to date. We got another episode dropping that we had Mikkel, our last episode, which is really exciting. But your time has been just awesome. So thank you so much for being here, and make sure you guys continue to follow Tip in the Scales wherever you get your podcasts.
Peace. We love you.
Thank you.